Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to my channel, to my wonderland, and to our coffee times together. Today I'm here to tell you all the things that I have already watched in the month of October, because I am doing one horror movie per day. At the end of the month I'm gonna have so many things that I watched that I thought it would be better if I would split this month's what I watched videos in two. So this is part one of everything that I have watched in the month of October, so let's get to it.
It's coffee time.
Now this is what I have watched for the 17 first days of the month. There were a couple of days where I had nearly no time that day because I was maybe away all day and I only had like very limited time to watch something. So I did watch 3 episodes from a Netflix exclusive series, and that is Marianne. So there were 3 days where I didn't have much time for a full-length movie, so I watched Marianne, and I've only watched so far 1, 2, 3, and I like it. I get why people are praising it so much. I recommend you to watch this in French, in the original, with subtitles, to get more of the atmosphere that it's a little bit sometimes lost when you watch a series or movies that are dubbed. I like that this series is based on an author that writes books about things that she, was scared of or had dreams of when she was a kid. So she created this character of this witch called Marianne, and she's a very popular writer and decides at some point to stop with this series of books that include these characters, and there is somebody from her past that comes back to hunt her, and there is this old woman that you can see in the trailer that believes she is Marianne, and it gets really disturbing very fast. Next we have The Invitation, and this is a 2015 horror thriller. This is a movie that I nearly watched a couple of times in the past and I didn't, so I was like, you know what, let's watch it this month. I tried this month to watch things that I have not watched before on the first part of the month, and on the second part of the month I think I'm gonna watch more things that I always go to for Halloween. So these are all movies that I have been watching for the first time. So The Invitation is a 2015 horror thriller, and I think I had a bit of higher expectations about this movie, and it ended up not being exactly what I expected. So this is a movie where a guy is invited to his ex-girlfriend's place for a dinner, and so he and his now girlfriend are driving there, and they start talking about why did she invited us, because she's your ex-girlfriend. And when they get there they soon realize that things are looking a little bit suspicious. Something's going on, they don't know exactly why, and this takes a weird turn at some point, and I did enjoy a couple of scenes, a couple of things, but all in all it was not that great. Then I watched In the Shadow of the Moon. This is a new Netflix exclusive, and it is about a policeman that in the 80s he's investigating a series of murders that all happened around the same neighborhood around the same time, and all the victims have the same kind of wounds, the same kind of death happened, and they're trying to figure out what happened to those people. And 9 years after this, the same thing happens again, and they think it's somebody that is kind of trying to imitate the killer. And it is a kind of futuristic sci-fi slash horror movie. I love the concept. I loved many things about it. The CGI sometimes was a little bit off, but definitely worth a watch. In the Tall Grass, another Netflix exclusive that came out on the 4th of October, and this is a Canadian movie, and it is based on the short novella from Stephen King and Joe Hill. And I read the novella and it was really disturbing, and I had my doubts that Netflix was gonna go all the way there, but they did, so I really did enjoy the movie a lot. They changed a couple of things and I was not happy about the ending though, but it is definitely worth a watch. This is about a brother and a sister that are driving, and basically the sister is pregnant and she's having a hard time deciding if she should keep the baby or not. And while they stop along the road, there is this huge field of green tall grass, and they hear a boy calling for help, and they decide to park there and go into the tall grass to see if they can get the kid out. But what they don't know is that once you go into the tall grass, there is no way out. Then I watched Midsummer, which is the second movie by Ari Aster, his second full-length movie, and I mean, it was amazing. It was great. I loved it. I loved it more than Hereditary, his first movie, which is also a great movie. And this is based on the folklore mythology of the Swedish people, and damn, it was good. And I am shocked like how this movie that is completely opposite to Hereditary was a very dark, the atmosphere was dark, everything was dark, and this movie is just light and white colors and flowers, but it is so messed up. And I think that's what I love the most about it, you know, that despite being a movie based all of it nearly on the daylight, the sun, white clothing, flowers, happiness, it was really brutal and effed up. So the plot, what I can tell you, not to spoil anything, is that we're following this couple that are kind of having trouble in their relationship, and he has been invited to go with his friends to spend the summer solstice in Sweden, and basically she decides to tag along, and the boyfriend is just kind of trying to make up for all the shit that he did and offers her, you know, to take her with him. So she ends up going with a bunch of guys, and it's all fun and games until they get to this retreat where there is this Swedish cult, and they start to learn about, you know, their rituals and the things that they do in summer solstice and everything. And yeah, things don't turn out well. Then I watched Wolves at the Door, a 2016 horror movie. This is a very loose retelling of the macabre events that happened at the Sharon Tate house when they were murdered by the Manson family. Basically, Sharon Tate was with a couple of her friends in her house. Roman Polanski was somewhere else attending an event, and the Manson family, a couple of their members, went into the house to kill Sharon and everybody else in it. So this is kind of like a loose retelling on the true crime story, and I just wanted to watch it to see what they did with it because I am interested in true crime. It was sadly not what I expected. I liked it, but I did not love it. I felt like it could have been, you know, executed way better. I felt like the whole thing is to try to make the viewer feel uncomfortable about the events that happened, because it was a really brutal murder committed by people that were crazy basically. And you know, you do feel a little bit with the characters throughout the movie, but I just felt like there was something missing to make this movie a bit more powerful. It felt a little bit more like a teenage slasher movie instead of being like the true crime story, something serious that it should have been. Then we have The Bar from 2017, and actually this is a Spanish movie called El Bar, and I wanted to watch it because it's a Spanish movie, and I was like, I want to check it out, but I didn't know what to expect. And it's basically nothing like you can imagine. The main story is there is this group of people that find themselves in a bar one morning when somebody is basically just shot on the street in front of them, and they find themselves locked in this bar. After this person was shot in front of the bar, everybody else disappears from the street and they're left alone, and if somebody tries to go out, they will be shot. They don't know what's happening, they don't know why this is happening, and so it kind of follows the story. And you know, it explores a little bit the humanity and who to trust, who not to trust, and how far you would go to save your own life, even if that means that everybody else has to die. And then I watched The Boogeyman from 2005. This is a movie that I had in my DVD collection and I still had not watched. And I was like, you know what? It's happening now. And it is inspired on the legend of the Boogeyman. And we're following this kid that when he was a kid, he basically saw his dad being taken by the Boogeyman and he never recovered from this. And now we jump forward to the future when he is already a grown-up and he goes back to the house where he used to live, and he realizes that the Boogeyman is still there and it's still hunting him. So it was nice. It had a couple of cool moments, so I'll give this one a pass. Then I watched Psychosis, a 2010 British horror movie, and I bought this one basically because Charisma Carpenter was in it. That was my only reason. And it sounded good, but it was really bad. It's one of the worst movies I've watched this month so far. It's basically following some brutal murders that happened in the 90s. That's what you get to see at the beginning, and then we jump forward to the future and we see these writers. She writes horror books and she moves to this new house to try to look for inspiration for her new stories, and she starts to see the killer back from the 90s, but this killer is in a mental institution, so it could not be him. And yeah, so it was very messy. The acting was not that great. The only thing good about the movie was some gory scenes and Charisma Carpenter, because I really like her. But I mean, this movie had so much potential. I really did love the whole story with the serial killer from the 90s that comes back, but somehow it was just not good enough. Then I watched Ghostland, or also known as Incident in a Ghostland. This is a 2018 psychological thriller, and actually I ended up loving it more than I thought. The movie starts very basic. There is this mom and her two daughters that are moving into a new place, and basically they're being attacked by somebody, and we then jump forward to the future, and one of the girls is, you know, become a writer of horror books. That's what she always wanted to do, and she starts to revisit a little bit what happened in that house that day. And I thought, okay, this is just gonna be a very basic thriller. But then she goes back to the house where they were attacked, her and her sister and her mom, and she starts to relive things and starts to question what is real and what is not. And this is the moment where I was like, I don't know if I like this movie, because they used a trope that I don't particularly like in horror movies, which I'm not going to tell you what it is, because then I'm going to spoil it a little bit for you. But all I have to say is that towards the end, it catched up again, and I absolutely loved how disturbing it got. Then I rewatched Brain Scan from 1994, and this is a movie that I've always loved and adored, and I always thought it was very different for its time. It is about this teenager that is obsessed with horror movies and video games. You need to remember this movie was released in the 90s, so the whole technology and special effects are a little bit different, you know, from what you would expect. But I absolutely loved it, and it's basically this teenager, like I said, obsessed with horror and video games, and he hears from his friend about this new experience, this super, you know, like virtual reality game called Brain Scan, and he doesn't believe it's that good, so he orders it and starts playing it, and he realizes it's more than a game. Absolutely loved it. It's still one of my favorite 90s horror, and yeah, I think it aged pretty well. Then we have Phenomena from Dario Argento. This is a 1985 movie that features Jennifer Connelly. Now, I have not watched this movie yet, and I thought it was about time. I got a copy at the horror convention I recently attended to. I'm gonna be uploading a vlog about it in my movie haul and everything soon this week. So basically, Phenomena is about this girl that goes into this kind of institution for girls to learn, and while she's there, she meets this professor, and they start to talk about bugs, because she says she's always had a great relationship with the you know, insects and bugs, and there's also at the same time a killer on the loose, and it is a very interesting movie. I did not know what to expect from it, honestly. And again, it's a movie that starts kind of slow. It gets really weird really fast, and you don't know what to expect. But towards the end, everything that happened in the last like 20 minutes, I absolutely loved. Then I watched Debug from 2014. The reason why I bought this movie, it's because Jason Momoa is on the cover, but they are using this for people to buy the movie because he was in the movie like 3 minutes tops, maybe, if you count everything. And I mean, I also wanted the movie because it is a sci-fi horror. So I love that kind of combination between sci-fi and horror. It is about 6 young computer programmers that basically were in jail, and as part of their program, they have to go and do some work, and they are being sent to this ship to try to, do some computer decoding there, and they realize that there is something else with them in the spaceship that is not allowing them to leave and that is threatening to kill them. I thought this movie, again, the idea is not bad, but I thought it was boring and yeah, just not good. The best thing was just seeing Jason Momoa for those 3 minutes. Then I watched Bird Box from 2018. I finally got to watch this movie. I was waiting to read the book, which I just did, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna be that bitch. The book was way better because the book kept you like more in this kind of creepy situation. You were a little bit more tense. It was way more graphic and gory than the movie, so I love the book more. Basically, in this story, we have an end of the world kind of theory in which there are some creatures or some entities that come to Earth, and when somebody sees them, they basically go mad and they try to kill themselves, kill each other. And so people realize soon that they have to cover their eyes, they have to go to their homes and protect the windows. And when they go outside to try to look for food or water or anything they might need, they have to put a blindfold. So basically following the main character played by Sandra Bullock, which I think she did a great job. So she's pregnant and she ends up, taking refuge in this house with a bunch of strangers, and they're just trying to figure out what's going on, watching the news, trying to figure out how to survive. And it is a very interesting, again, perspective on how humans would react in this kind of situation. Who would you trust? What would you do to survive yourself, even if you have to kill somebody else? And yeah, I just wish that the movie would have been a little bit more truthful to the book, because I thought they added things just because it was convenient, or just to make a romance, because there is a romance between Sandra Bullock and somebody else, and that is not like that in the book. So yeah, I just thought they looked for more convenient stuff. And also the scenes where somebody dies, they're not as gory or as graphic as they were in the book. And the last thing that I watched is Hush from 2016, and this is a movie that everybody said I would enjoy, and for some reason I had it on my Netflix list to watch, but I never did, and I'm so glad that I have watched it now because I absolutely loved it. I thought it was original, I thought it was intense and creepy, and I absolutely loved it. The deaths were also great, like super believable, on point, gory enough, and I loved it. It is about this woman that she is a writer and she's deaf. She lost her hearing when she was a teenager, and she is kind of now recluded in this house trying to write her new book. And after a friend comes to visit her that night, she's alone in the house, and there is this killer on the loose. The killer doesn't know that she's deaf, and he is becomes kind of like this cat and mouse kind of game where he's trying to catch her and she's trying to survive and escape. Yeah, so I absolutely loved it. I would recommend it for anybody that is looking for something new to watch. I've never watched a horror movie where the main character was a deaf person, and I think they did a great job, and the main actress was amazing in this movie. So it's definitely one that I would like to rewatch. And this is everything that I watched so far in the month of October. So this is what I watched in the first part of the month. Let me know down below, are you watching more horror this month? Which has been your favorite horror watch from this month? Let me know in the comments down below. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Please give the video a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and also remember to hit the notification bell. And if you want to follow me in other social media, I do have Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. The links to those social media channels can be found in the description box down below. And I hope to see you all in the next coffee time. Bye!